doing the Farmington.
Pitching for the Knights, number 3, Brant Buzenbark. Playing first base, number 25.
All right, welcome, Dragon fans, to another day of baseball here. St. Genevieve Dragons 17-0. Lost North County 10-3. Last Saturday went down and had a doubleheader against Perryville and Dexter. They split there. They beat Perryville 6-5 and lost to Dexter 14-8. And then the last two games, they've lost close ones against DeSoto 11-10 and lost to Park Hills 3-2. So the Knights will come to bat first. We have beautiful weather. The first probably day we've been able to stand out here with no coat on.
No rain.
No rain, no pants. I'm in shorts, and it's great to be out here. As here comes Wyatt Lometer with his first pitch into the turf. I'm Rob Coleman, if you can't tell, and alongside me is Russ Toombs today. He'll be keeping the book for me as Wyatt Lometer brings the count to 1-1.
Yeah, Rob, the past two games that we've had both been really close ball games. In fact, the Park Hills game.
There's a drive to right center as Camden Rowe is parked underneath it, and he makes the catch for the first out.
The Park Hills game went into extra innings, lost that one in the bottom of the 8th, and lost again last night to DeSoto in a close game after coming behind 11-10, lost that in the bottom of the 7th. So,
yeah, the Dragons have had a lot of close scores, 3-1, 3-2. Like I said, 3-2 against Park Hills, 11-10. So that they're playing not great baseball, but you wouldn't say that they're playing bad baseball.
Right.
I know that they've had a couple games that maybe didn't look so well, but overall not terrible.
Yeah, every game that they've played so far has been, they've been in the ball games. The two largest disparity of wins or of runs is the Jackson game and the North County game, and both of those were close ball games up till later in the game.
Yeah, and we've had our share of big runs, beating St. Pius 17-0, and then also beating Chester 8-0. As there's a foul ball off to the right side, as the Knights have number 11 and don't have a roster, so we'll just be going by numbers for the Knights, and that's a 2-2 count now on the second batter for the Knights. As Wyatt Lometer brings home the 2-2 count, and there's a little base hit over the third baseman's head, and that was Kemper, and in comes Derek Morgenthaler to get the ball in before the runner could advance to second. So we have one out here with a runner on first. Maybe I can listen to Clayton Geck when we get some names. Buzenbark. Grant Buzenbark batting third here, number 3 for the Knights. Lometer, has pitched a couple of games already this year and hasn't been great, but you've seen good stuff as there's a throw down to the second. We got him. Nice shot by Dalton Giesler to throw out the Knight who was trying to steal second. That was a high fastball as the Buzenbark swung through, and Giesler was able to fire it down there quick enough. Again, Wyatt Lometer has pitched in 4 games. He is 0-2, though, as there's a strike 2 on Buzenbark. He's given up 11 runs and 11 hits, 9 earned runs, 15 walks. He does have 12 strikeouts, though, and his ERA is 5.72 as there's a foul ball down the right field side. So, again, you look at that and you have 12 strikeouts. I mean, that's a good amount of strikeouts, second on the team, but then you have 15 walks.
Right, and that's what Wyatt has fallen into this year is some little control issues. He's just really high in the zone, and it looks like so far today he's definitely corrected that as he's throwing strikes, and Dalton again made a good play on the kid that did have a hit, throwing him out at second. But hopefully Wyatt can keep the ball down, and if he can keep the ball down, he's a really, really tough pitcher.
Here's Lometer as he brings home the 0-2 count, and there's a ground ball between the first and second baseman. As Camden Rowe comes to bring it in. So another base hit by the Knights. We still have 2 outs, though, here in the top of the first. I think walks has kind of been the key with our pitchers, talking to Coach McDaniel and Coach Gibson. They've had some really good innings, but then we run into those innings where, we get a lot of walks, and then the defense maybe has an error. And you just can't have those two together. Walks are bad enough, but then when you get guys on base and then create errors, you're going to give up some runs as ball one is taken high on number 25 for the Knights. Lamontaigne bringing some heat. Has been a little high, though, on a lot of his pitches. There's strike one. So, again, that was about Leonard high. Hopefully the Knights don't catch up on one of these high pitches. Be easy to drive out of here. And there's a ball in the turf. And the runner will move down. I think is that Busenbark that was moved to second? And now there'll be a pinch runner for him. Oh, here we go. Now we got a run.
Mr. Haney hooking us up with a program.
Thank you, Mr. Haney. So up to bat here is number 25, Garrett Tomyer. He is a senior. So the Knights have a runner on second, and Tomyer looks at strike two. 2-2 the count. Decent lead off at second. Henson trying to keep him on. Lamontaigne comes home. There's a pitch to the first baseman, and that's Drew Toombs. Does a good job to keep the knee down, stay in front of the ball, and get the third out of the inning. So a couple hits for the Knights, but unable to get any of those runners around as one, Dalton Giesler, was able to throw one out stealing, and the other one was left on second base. So we go to the bottom of the first with the score 0-0.
Due up for St. Genevieve will be Wyatt Lamontaigne leading us off. Grant Staffen hitting second, and Dalton Giesler will be up third.
Now, Lamontaigne we were talking about is pitching. Grant Staffen is playing second base, and we mentioned Dalton Giesler is behind the plate. We also have Brady Boyer, who is in center. Derek Morgenthaler, we mentioned him out in left field. I mentioned Drew Toombs making the last out of the inning. He's playing first. Kemper over at third base. We do have Henson at short, but he's being DH'd. Vaith will be DHing for Henson in the 8th spot, and the last spot is Camden Rowe playing right field.
You know, I'm sorry, Rob.
Nope,
one of the things that, going through the season so far is, we've struggled a little bit at the plate, and I think a lot of times we're being sometimes too selective and waiting for perfect pitches instead of driving ones. It might just be a tad out of the zone, and, I think they've done a much better job the past couple games being more aggressive. Again, we saw it at the end of the Park Hills game where kids were aggressive at the plate, scoring some runs, and we definitely saw it last night at DeSoto.
Yeah, I didn't get to see the last two games, but that was something I know that Gibson mentioned, that, he thought we were watching too many close pitches. You don't want to be swinging at bad pitches, but you also don't want to watch good ones.
Right.
Try to put the ball in play. Excuse me, good things will happen.
And the guy here at the top of the lineup, he's key. And, Wyatt does a really good job getting on base. Some might be thinking he's struggling at bat. He's not hitting as well as he has in the past, but I think he's drawn double digits in walks, and so he is finding a way to get on base.
Yeah, you mentioned struggling and hitting, but it's tough when you, as a sophomore, have such a good season.
Right.
The expectations are so high, as Wyatt takes ball one there. So when you come in and you're not have as good a year as last year so far, for some it may be a letdown. As Lamontaigne able to sweep one through there between first and second base. Again, Lamontaigne was batting .265. Like Russ mentioned, he had 10 walks, and he scored 12 runs. So you get him on base, it looks like he's going to be able to come around to score. In comes Grant Staffen. Staffen, again, is a freshman, and he is batting .270. He has struck out 6 times and walked 3 times. He does have 10 hits as he takes ball one. Staffen does have 8 RBIs on the season. As he digs in, Lamontaigne as a lead, and that's ball high, ball 2. That 15 on the mound there, I can't quite see his number there.
3, I believe.
Okay, so that's 3. I don't know.
Probably Busenbark.
That's Busenbark. Yep, Brant Busenbark is on the mound for the Knights. So he comes set and home. Staffen tries to bunt that one and doesn't quite get on top of the ball as he fouls it backwards. So we have a count of 2-1 on Staffen as he's looking down to get the signs from McDaniel. Lomanier takes his lead at first, as you guys can't see. And there's Staffen. He gets the bunt down, and he moves Lomanier over. So he does his job. Sacrifice bunt for Staffen. And so now we have Wyatt Lomanier at second base with one out.
Number 9, Dalton Giesler.
Incoming to bat is number 9, Dalton Giesler. Giesler is batting .406. Looks like he has the second highest batting average after Brady Boyer. As he takes a ball away, and that's going to allow Wyatt Lomanier to move over to third. So the Dragons here in a good spot with a runner on third with one out. Giesler can put it in play, especially to the right side. Maybe find a little hole over the infield as they are in a little bit. Third base is up on the grass. First base right on the edge. Short and second are not totally in, but they are.
Yeah,
moved
they're about
up.
midway.
Yeah. So probably one of those, if it hits hard to them, they can come home. If not, they have still back and get some range as Giesler takes strike one. 1-1 the count. I guess that's a good idea. You know, again, if you get the right hit, you can go home. If not, you know, you're still not giving up too much gaps. Still have some range as you're back. And there's a curveball. There's a ground ball to third. And Lomanier thinks about going, but Giesler out at first. So now we have two outs.
Now batting, center fielder, number 30, Brady Boyer.
We talked about Giesler with the second best batting average. Well, in steps number 1, Brady, or he's number 30, but the best batting average at .412 on the year. He has 11 runs, 10 RBIs, and 14 hits.
Yeah, and Brady is just a freshman also.
Yep. As he swings through strike one. So looking for a big hit here for Brady to score a run. And there's the windup and the pitch. And strike two. A little late on that one is Boyer. So that's 0-2 the count. Again, we're here in the bottom of the first here at home. And he watches strike three. And the Dragons go down with no runs here in the first inning as Wyatt Lomanier was able to lead off, base hit, and not able to move him around to score.
You know, Rob, we've seen as this team has grown, you know, everybody talks about how young this group is, and they are very young. You know, looks like tonight starting 3 freshmen, sophomore, 2 sophomores. You know, there you've got 5 of your starting 9, and the rest are juniors. And, you know, I've watched them grow throughout the first part of the year, and, you know, have fielded pretty well. You know, that is one thing that happens to this group is they do sometimes when they have errors, they seem to not be able to pick themselves up. And, again, that's a sign of age. You know, 2 of these kids, and, in fact, it's the battery mates right here with Wyatt and Dalton, were really the only ones that had significant playing time on varsity last year.
Yeah, you know, and that's something we've talked about with Coach McDaniel, and as a coach, you kind of got to accept it. I mean, in the back, I think it's one of those things in the back of the mind, you accept it, but to them and you know, to everyone else, and as you go about things, you don't want to let them know that it's okay, you know, because if you do that, then they're going to believe it every time they make them. They say, oh, it's okay, I'm young. We're young.
Yeah.
So I think as a coach, you keep that in the back of your mind and kind of accept that. But, you know, you want to put it out there that, hey, it doesn't matter what age you are, especially after you've played so many games.
Yeah, that's the growth that I think we've seen here with this team, you know, especially we talked about the more aggressiveness in hitting, but it's really all the way around. You know,
and mentally, I think that's the key now. You know, if you're up there as a batter and you're not hitting the ball hard, you know, I mean, maybe it's a strength thing, and that probably plays more. Or maybe, you know, you're not a guy that has the strongest arm in the outfield at that age. You know, those things I think you can typically say, but mentally, after so many games, you got to say, hey, you know what to do. You know what's going on. We can't use that anymore. So we're going to start the top of the second here. Number 5, Brandon Winder. Winder is coming to bat as Lomanier throws strike one, and that's going to be foul just down the third base outside. So White Lomondere getting ahead of the count, which is good. Strike one. And here comes pitch number 2 to Winder. And he fouls that one off to the right side. So now we got one left, we got one right. Maybe we'll just blow by him on this one. Hopefully he isn't able to straighten it out. Here with an 0-2 count, hopefully he'll not necessarily waste a pitch, but make sure nothing that's really hittable, as he does. Kind of down and away there to get him to chase. Winder doesn't go for it. Looks like the outfield playing straight away. And there's ball 2 outside. Don't see a whole lot of shifts. Maybe if the lefty comes up, the shift a little bit, but probably not knowing these guys, as there's a foul ball to the right side again. And that keeps the count 2-2. You know, unless you've played them a lot, you know, you probably don't know a lot of shifts in high school. Lomondere gets his sign and comes home. And there's a ball up. It looks like he tried a little breaking ball that didn't break enough. And now we have a full count. And there's strike 3 as Winder watches. Good pitch on the outside corner for Lomondere. And that'll be the first out of the inning.
Yeah, great job there on location of that pitch, just on the outside corner.
Yeah, you can tell Winder just kind of, he was almost going for it and kind of gave up on it, and it stayed right in there. And so now the Knights come to bat number, is that 16?
That's what it looks like, yep.
Connor Yordy, Jr. Yordy, Y-O-R-D-Y. Yordy. And he's behind in the count, 0-1. Now 0-2 as Yordy fouls one off to the right side again, right over our head. So now the count is 0-2. And here's the third pitch. And there's a little blooper that looks like it's going to go over Henson's head, and it does. Right there in the little dead man zone behind the shortstop, between the left fielder and center fielder. And a little bloop base hit there for Yordy.
Yeah, that one had eyeballs on it. Just knew where to get right over Henson and right in front of Morgan Thaler there.
And now coming to bat, Braden Moon, number 7. So again, the Knights here able to get a runner on. We do have one out, runner on first. Is that the third hit for the Knights?
Yes.
Lomondere checks the runner and brings home, and he blows that one by Moon. Some heat there. Moon way behind. So 0-1 the count here. Lomondere comes set. Good lead off here at first. Doesn't go. Ball inside. Brings the count to 1-1. Everybody should be warm and ready today. Hands shouldn't be cold. No excuses when it comes to the weather as Lomondere steps off. It's exactly the way you want it.
Right.
Not too hot. The sun is warm. And Lomondere strike 2 on the batter. Again, painting that outside corner. Looks like the strike zone is good size tonight. As the pitch, he's getting some of those calls right at the letters. So he comes set. Good lead at first. And there's a foul ball back. Keeps the count 1-2. One out here in the top of the second. The Knights with a runner on bases. There's a ball in the dirt, and Giesler thought he had it, I think. Kind of got underneath his glove. Did a good job to move over on his knees, but squeaked right underneath. So Yordy able to move down to second base. So now the Knights have one out with a runner on second. 2-2 the count. Lomondere checks the runner, comes home, and there's ball 3. And that'll come full. Here's the pitch. Oh, nope. He's going to check the runner. As Jordy looks like he was getting a good lead out there. Good move by Lamonier. There's the pitch, and it's ball 4 outside. So didn't quite get the corner on that one as he did the last time, and that'll move Moon down to first. So we have first and second. And bringing for the Knights is number 24, Gunnar Lebrat. He's a good-sized kid. I remember basketball about 6'4", I think, listed, as he takes strike 1.
Yeah, he is. You look at him in the box, you can tell he's a real tall, real thick kid.
So first and second again for the Knights, 1 out. Lamadier checks the runner. He's going to step off again. Little spin move backwards. Trying to keep the runners close. He gets the sign he wants now and comes home. And there's high. Did he go around?
I think they should appeal that one.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, neither one of them have a very good angle.
Yeah,
you know.
not from where we're at.
You know, the only one umpire in the field, and now he's behind the pitcher, so he doesn't quite get the angle if you would if you were down at first base.
Right. And being that that's where we're broadcasting from, it was pretty easy to see.
Yeah, he was around. So 2-1 the count now. As Lebrat takes another ball, and Lamadier comes home, and there's a foul tip back to the screen. As it rolls up the right side in front of us. Coach McDaniel going out to pick it up. So 2-2 the count. Looks like Lebrat is a little behind him, Lamadier's fastball. So see what they decide to do here. Henson's keeping the runner close, and there's another ball high. Hell, Lamadier's still looking high, I think, on a lot of his pitches. Full count. Here's a pitch, and he blows it by him. Nice pitch by Wyatt Lamadier. Looked like he gave a little extra oomph on that one to blow it by Lebrat for the second out of the inning.
Right fielder, number 1, John Bader.
So now we have first and second with 2 outs for John Bader. Number 1 coming to bat. Again, another not near as thick as Lebrat, but again, about 6'4".
Yeah, I believe this is another kid you know pretty well from basketball, Coach Coleman.
Yeah, he's one of their post players. And again, Lebrat was a little bit thicker guy, and Bader a little more agile, a little skinnier, but again, good-sized kid. He looks at strike 2. There's a good low pitch from Lamadier. That's where you want to keep it.
Absolutely.
You know,
good follow through, get it low.
Ground balls is all you're going to get out of that one. Or if they do try to golf it, come underneath it, they're going to pop it up. And here's a pitch, and he does ground the ball right. Nice
great play there by Wyatt
Lamadier as he tosses to Toombs to end the inning. So a good hard hit right back up the middle, but Lamadier able to snag it with the backhand to make the third out of the inning. So able to keep, the Knights had 2 runners on, but the Dragons are able to keep them from scoring. Coming into the bottom of the second, we will have Derek Morgenthaler, Drew Toombs, and Jesse Kemper. Waylon Kemper, sorry, Jesse's little brother in PE class. So Waylon Kemper. Looking at the field, I don't know how long it's been there, but I don't think it was there the last time. They got the batting cage put up down the right field side. And I've also seen that the new scoreboard isn't up, but it's over here.
Right, it is over next to the Yanks South field.
And so hopefully that'll be put up maybe next week. I'm not sure what all they have to do, who's doing it, if the school's doing it or if they've contracted that out. But
I also noticed driving in down next to the railroad tracks that they have some of the turf in on the softball field.
I didn't notice. There was a lot of construction going on as I was driving in, so I wasn't really paying attention to my driving. See what you were looking at as where you were driving. So, well, that's good. Hopefully that field will, I'm sure it'll be just as nice as this one when it's all said and done. The baseball team will play. They do have, they don't play tomorrow, but they do play a doubleheader coming up on Saturday believe they play it at home. 9 and 11, they'll play Duchesne and the St. Louis Patriots. So I know there's a lot going on Saturday. 2 baseball games, prom.
Yes.
So have nothing to do, come out in the morning and enjoy some baseball. Derek Morgenthaler steps in the bat. Ooh, he looks at a little curveball outside for ball 1. Morgenthaler is, oh no, there you go. His average is 400. As there's a little chopper to second, and Morgenthaler's out at first. I guess I did technically lie looking at the stats a little closer. As Brady Boyer is batting 412, Chad Dunsey is batting 500, but he's only batted twice.
Twice, yeah.
And looks like
Brewster
Jake Brewster is batting 1,000.
2 for 2 last night.
2 for 2, and he's batted twice on the season. So as there's Toombs, and he hits it hard back to the pitcher, and just like Lamadure,
yeah.
That was Busenbark with a nice little snag for
Looked
the
like
second
almost
out.
a carbon copy there of how we ended the last inning.
Yep.
Waylon Kemper.
And now Kemper, Waylon Kemper, number 1, coming to bat for the Dragons with 2 outs. Busenbark, the windup and the pitch, and Kemper sees strike 1 in the outside corner. Busenbark with a little bit of a leg kick there in his windup. And there's a little ground ball to third. Good, nice play by the third baseman as he's able to throw Kemper out across the diamond. So the Dragons go 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's a pretty quick inning there by Busenbark. I think a total of 5 pitches.
Ooh, that's what you like to see if you're the Farmington Knights coach. 5 pitches in an inning. Definitely be able to go deep there. And, you know, I don't think he's got anything overpowering, especially his fastball. His curveball looks like it'll break pretty good. But,
right.
You know, he's throwing strikes. And, you know, the Dragons are hitting it. It's just unfortunately we're hitting it to him.
You know, and I think that's what you get in high school baseball, and that's what you want as a coach is throw strikes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let your defense behind you play, and that's exactly what Busenbark is doing right now is, you know, he's not necessarily overpowering anybody, but he's throwing strikes, making the guys go up there and swing. Right now we're, again, hitting the ball pretty hard and had a couple of them right at people, and you hope that as we go through the game, those will find a little gaps here and there.
Yeah, if you're consistently throwing strikes, you don't get to a 2-0 count. Yeah. Or, you know, a 3-1 count where now they know,
yeah.
you know, you're probably going to throw it straight.
Right.
You don't want to walk them, and you don't want to get to a 3 balls or whatever it may be. So then that's when they can really rip on them. But when you got them, if you're throwing strikes but early in the count, they're still guessing.
Yeah.
You're going to throw the fastball, you're going to throw the curve. And, you know, and they may hit it, but again, they're not loading up as much.
Yeah, and you know that's also when long in counts you lose your defense a little bit. You know they're back on their heels instead of on their toes, and
yeah, it's a perfect point. So you'd think, hey, you know these guys are high school, they've done this stuff, they're going to be focused out there. But when you're out there for such a long time, you know it's easy, you know, to lose focus, and not that you don't know what's going on, but you're maybe not as sharp as you would be when you're out there, you know, with a lot of hits going on and making plays. And so that is number 4, Castro, and he flied out to right field the last time up at bat. And he's behind in the count 0-1. Lamadure here bring the second pitch, and he's ball high and away. 1-1 the count. Lamadure working fast, it seems like, as he brings strike 2 in there. 1 and 2 the count, not taking much time between pitches. Focused and ready to go. And there's a drive to right field. And in comes Rowe. Oh, not able to get there as it falls in front of him. Made a little bit of a diving play there. Seemed like, I don't know if the sun right at him at that angle or he just didn't judge it right, but he's got enough speed to probably get underneath that ball.
I think that's exactly what happened. You know, it's right into the sun, looking right in it. Even though he had the shades, it's hard when that glare is on those glasses even to, you know, pick up that ball, and I think that's what happened.
So the Knights here to start off have a runner on first. As Lamadure ball low and outside. And that's Castro at first, and up to bat here we have Kraus, as he, what did he do last time? Had a single. Braden Kraus. And there's a little hit and run or a steal, and Staffen able to make the play and get Kraus out at first. So
good job there by Grant to change direction as
Yeah.
he was going over to cover the base to still get to the ball.
I remember the last game we did here, that happened where it was hit and run or at least a steal, and Staffen was going over, and the batter was able to find the hole over there. So like you said, great job by Staffen. That does move the runner down, so we have a runner on second here with one out.
You know, you talked about how fast Wyatt seems to be working, and you know, I'm sure Wyatt was he was ready to get back on the mound. You know, he came in last night and struggled a little bit with control in that game that we lost in the bottom of the seventh. So I'm sure he was eager to get onto the mound again today, kind of get it back into the groove.
So as the catcher and a couple of the infielders go to talk it out a little strategy, we're back to play again. And I believe this is Buzenbark up to bat. As Lamadier throws one in there, there's another hit to right field. Camden able to get underneath that one as it kind of was slicing away from him and be able to make the catch for the second out. And now will come, is that a Tomier?
Tomier.
Number 25.
He grounded out to first
Garrett
base.
Tomier. So now we got two outs with a runner on second. As Lamadier, ball a little outside. Lamadier again working fast, checks the runner at second, checks him twice, and comes home. There's a ball low. Garrett Tomier digs in. He's heading the count, 2-0. And there's a ball outside. Didn't get the corner that time. Tell Wyatt Lamadier wasn't happy with that one. But it seems like, I don't know if it was a strike or not, but it seems like he's been getting that call. So 3-0. See if he has the green light or is going to be taking. We're here in the top of the third. Here at home, the Dragons score 0-0. And Lamadier brings a strike right down the middle as it looked like Tomier was taken. So that brings 3-1 the count. Again, two outs here in the top of the third. Lamadier throws that one on the turf. Good backhand by Dalton Giesler. Was able to keep the runner at second, but Tomier able to trot down since that was ball four. Now batting number 5, Brandon Winder, and he struck out looking last time. Right, is that your backwards K is looking? Okay, make sure. So we got first and second, two outs, top of the third. And the Knights kind of knocking on the door. They've done that in all previous innings, but they are not able to bring anybody home. As Wyatt Lamadier fires that one as high. Ball one. Here's where we're talking about getting in trouble. Some walks, hits, and now we got there's ball two. Dragons got to be able to make a play here. And there's ball three low and inside. So two batters in a row. We went to 3-0. And now Wyatt does step off the mound off the backside and take a little breath. Once again, I would think that the batter Winder would be taking, as he does. And there's a pitch that high and got the high and outside corner.
Must have caught the corner there.
And that's 3-1. So again, you got to bring him another one. Winder's going to be looking at this one, and he does. He grounds that down the right field side and brings the count to full, 3-2.
You'll see the runners off here with the pitch with two out here in the top of the third.
Yep, as a pitcher, you got to keep your focus on the batter. You know they're going to be going. Giesler gives Lamadier the sides. And the stride home. And there's ball outside. So ball 4. Winder will trot down to first, and that brings the bases loaded.
We found ourselves in this situation quite a few times this year, and we got to remember, and hopefully Wyatt is focused. There is 2 out here. We need to go after the hitter here. Looks like Yordi, he did single last time, so you want to go after him. Hopefully, get out of this inning unscathed.
Lamadier able to go from the windup now, and there's a drive to center field, and Boyer underneath it makes the catch. So nice job to throw a good strike there for Wyatt Lamadier to get out of the 3rd inning. So the Knights strand the bases loaded, and I believe they stranded 7 runners so far here in 3 innings. I know it's 6. 2-2 and 2-1.
Yeah, this guy was thrown out stealing, so 1 in the first.
It's a good thing you have the book.
That's right.
James. And the Dragons will come this inning. We'll have Vaith, who again is the DH for Henson, and then Camden Rowe batting 2nd, and then back to the top of the order for Wyatt Lamadier. Also would like to talk about the golf team. They finished 2nd out of 14 teams in their own tournament this week.
Yeah, and I believe they only lost first by 1 stroke.
Yep, and Jacob Tomier was 5th overall. And they, as far as their schedule goes, it seems like it's a long wait. But online, their schedule said the next thing they have is conference on the 25th.
Okay, I'm not sure.
So, and that's at Crown Point. And then districts, which is May 2nd and 4th, will be at home.
I talking to some people, and the way I understand it, Tomier didn't even have any birdies, but he did have 2 gooses.
Really? Most people don't know why that's funny, but I'm sure. We'll just leave. We won't tell.
We won't say anything.
We'll just say it's kind of a nickname. All right, so here we go. Vase steps in and gets a pitch from Busenbark and fouls that one back to the left side for strike 1. Vaith on the year is batting. I don't know. I can't find it. 226. Does have 7 strikeouts and 3 walks. And he has 7 hits. Also has 7 RBI. So. And now he's in the hole 0-2. Vaith batting from the left side. Busenbark getting a sign. And there's time by the catcher. Wants to see again what the coach wants to call. Here's the pitch. And Vaith, good hard hit right at the second baseman on a 1-hopper.
There's another one of those, Coach Coleman.
He's out at first. Yep, hit it hard, just right at him. And with the turf the way it is, you're going to get a normal bounce. It's not going to hit a rock or die on you or pop up on you. You're able to just sit there and take the good bounce. In comes Camden Rowe, and Rowe has batted has 1 at bat. He's 0 for 1 in the season. He does have 6 runs and 1 RBI, so I believe the run's coming from pinch running. But he does have an RBI. Not sure how that happened since he's 0-1, but we'll take it. And there's a ground ball, again, right at the second baseman. Little hop, and he's out at first. So, again, making contact, making hits, but just right at the Knights. And in steps Wyatt Lamadier. Looked to help himself out. He got a base hit in the first inning between the first. He's able to squeak it by the first and second baseman in the gap. Lamadier does have an on-base percentage of .432. He takes ball 1. On-base percentage means your walks, your hits, anytime you're on base. And here's the pitch from Busenbark. Looks like he let up a little on that one, maybe a changeup or just trying to aim the fastball, and it's in for ball 2. And here he is again. Has a strike 1 on that outside corner. Brings the count to 2-1. Again, 2 outs here in the bottom of the 3rd. And there's ball 3. So how about a little 2-out rally? We get Wyatt Lomadier here on. Busenbark comes home. And he says hi. Ball 4. So Lomadier takes the walk. And in brings Grant Staffen. Staffen had to sacrifice his first up at bat to move Lomadier over, but now we're going to get to see him swing away as there's 2 outs. And he takes strike 1 right at the letters. See what the Dragons can do here. Lomadier got some speed, and they check on him at first. He's back safely. Try to get something going, maybe try to steal a base, get him in scoring position. Or do you let Staffen just do the work as he takes ball high? 1-1 the count. Two outs here, bottom of the 3rd, and Busenbark's going to check on Lomadier again, so maybe he's got the same thing going in his mind. Are they going to try to steal Lomadier with some speed? And he goes, and Staffen is going to ground that one to the first baseman. I think that's Bader able to backhand it and make the play. Nope, that's Tomier over at first. So again, the Dragons leave one stranded, and how many is that for them? 3 or 2? 2. So the Dragons have stranded 2 through the first 3 innings. How many people are on there?
You know.
All right, it looks like we lost you. Not sure when we lost you, but the Dragons in the last inning was able to get Wyatt Lomadier on in a walk, but then not able to move him over or get him in. And so we're going to the top of the 4th with the score still 0-0.
Farmington will have up the bottom of the lineup. They're 7, 8, and 9. Moon, LeBrat, and Bader.
Decent crowd here. Not very many people on the hill. With the nice weather,
you'd expect more up there.
Yeah. But, still a good crowd here in the stands. So Moon will come to bat, as this is Lomadier's 4th inning of work. Last inning, he struggled a little bit with his command, but able to get back out of it. Other than that, he's done really well as he throws strike 1 past Moon.
Moon did walk last at bat.
And here's the second pitch as he pops up, and that's going to be foul out of the play into the parking lot. 1 bounce, 2 bounce, 3, and no car. So he's 0-2. Lomadier here to be able to kind of waste the pitch, and he does, trying to get him to chase low. Good stop by Giesler, moving over. Brings the count to 1-2. Lomadier the stride, and there's a little ground ball to second. Staffen charges, steps, and throws for the first out of the inning. Nice job by Staffen to charge it, get the good hop, and make the nice easy throw.
You know, that's one of the things we've seen as we've gone 2 games in a row in a field that's not turf is, you know, you almost get a little spoiled by the bounces you get off of the turf here. You can really gauge whether you should charge in or lay back a little bit.
In steps LeBrat. Gunnar LeBrot, number 24, as he takes ball 1. And here's pitch number 2, right down the middle. Good pitch by Wyatt Lomadier. Bring the count to 1-1.
I hope here Wyatt can get himself in a groove and, have some really quick innings. I know he had quite a few pitches, a few of the other innings.
And there's strike 2. And outside corner. Farmington's coach, I don't think, cares for that as he turns and walks and kicks a little bit. And here's Lomadier again working fast. It's ball high. 2-2 the count. And here's the 2-2 pitch. Strike 3 as LeBrod watches. And not sure what he was looking at that one. That one looked really good.
That one was.
I would say, again, we got a good-sized strike zone today, but he's got to realize he's 6'4". He's a big. There's a big strike zone there, and that looked really good. And in steps Bader, John Bader, number 1.
He did hit it right back to Wyatt, if you recall, there in the second inning.
Nice little backhand grab, I remember, by Wyatt to end the inning. So let's see if we can get Bader to end the inning here as he watches strike 1. Again, looks good pitch to me. I don't know what the Knights they're thinking, but Lomadier does seem like he's in a groove now. And there's strike 2 as Bader tips that one back to the screen, brings the count to 1-2. Lomadier trying to get the one he wants as he shakes off a couple, and he comes home, and that one's in the dirt. 2-2 the count. Go after him here, and Bader fouls that one off as he just kind of throws the bat at that one. It's a little low and away. Keeps the count to 2-2. Bader digs in. Lomadier gets the sign. And there's a little dink hit to the right side. That looks like that's foul. Good call by the umpire.
That's another one right there in no man's land.
Just barely went foul as Camden Rowe was over there. Looks like we have some games going on. Don't have any scores. We do have Park Hills Central at North County, Bismarck at West County, Kingston at Valley Caledonia. There's a drive right back up the middle as there's a good hit by Bader.
Yeah, I think Wyatt threw something a little off speed there.
Yeah, it did seem like he let up a little bit. So a 2-out hit by Bader will bring up to bat number 4, Andre Castro. Castro's batted twice. He's 1 for 2, I believe. So we're at the top of the order. We also have Fredericktown at Potosi. Mac is playing at St. Charles. Is that Mineral Area College playing at St. Charles? I guess it's a college, St. Charles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably St. Charles Community College.
So as that one's fouled off, the count is 0-1, and Bader is going, and there's a hit to right field. Camden Rowe running over and makes the play for the 3rd out of the inning. So again, the Knights are able to get a runner on, but not able to do anything with it. Because again, now they strand 7 and 4 innings.
You know, you talk about the conference teams and games that you got going on today. You got this game with us in Farmington. You talked about Park Hills, North County. You talked about Fredericktown playing Potosi. You know, the one thing that I've kind of seen in scores and with some of the conference teams we've played, there's, a lot of the teams are about at the same level. You know, you see games and you see the scores and you think, okay, here's a team that's, is going out and dominate somebody. Then you see another team knock them off in a game and the scores are close, 2-1 type scores and 3-2 type scores. And, it's one of those times of the year, the conference that, everybody has a pretty decent ball club. I think Valley Catholic there definitely is a team. You know, I think I'm not sure what their record is, but they're about 10, 11, 12, and 1, something like that. And the rest of the teams are right there, you know, close to the same record, about 500 or so.
Yeah, you know, when I thought we were seeing Farmington, you know, Farmington's pretty good, the size school they are, everything. I was surprised to see that they were 2-6 now. I know they've played some St. Louis teams or, you know, teams up north, but like you said, 2-1 to Fredericktown, 1-0 with DeSoto. So again, very comparable.
Right.
Dalton Giesler.
This will be the third conference game for the Dragons as they lost to North County and Park Hills so far. And in steps Dalton Giesler to lead off for the Dragons here in the bottom of the fourth. And Giesler drives that one to the left field, deep fly ball. And that's the first out of the inning. Again, Giesler was batting had a batting average of .406 when he came into today.
Now batting center fielder, number 30.
We have Brady
Boyer.
Number 30, Brady Boyer. In his batting average in the 400s. I believe he struck out looking last time as he fouls that one off. Got an on-base percentage of .474. Does have 10 singles and 4 doubles, so wouldn't mind adding another double or triple to that one. And there's a little ground ball up the middle. Shortstop able to run over and cut it off and throws him out for the second out of the inning. As Boyer you can tell he's frustrated himself as he runs about halfway down the outfield line. You know, Brady is a heck of an athlete, and we talked about maturity and not to say that he is immature, but he's very hard on himself.
Right.
Wants to do everything perfect. He was the same way in basketball, and he, you know, that's one thing he's going to have to learn, especially in baseball. You know, we talk about batting, and if you're 1 out of 3, you're a really, you know, a good hitter for the most part. So, you know, that's one thing he's going to have to learn to control his emotions. You like a passionate guy, but
absolutely,
you know, especially in baseball, kind of a calm, cool. Football, you can get away with it. Take that anger, go hit somebody. But baseball, you know, you really got to control that. As Derek Morgenthaler, another freshman, chops one again to short, and safe as he calls. He comes off the base, and he was leaning. I don't know if he came off. It's hard to tell. And we got the pole in the way. I kind of squeaked over. I seen that he had to really stretch and lean for that one. And they're going to ask for some help from the home umpire, and don't think he's going to change it.
No, in fact, he said he had a better view than I did, so he didn't make any ruling.
Yeah, because he kind of leaned towards the home umpire when he stretched. It wasn't stretched out towards the shortstop where it was coming from. He had to kind of come down the line to catch that one. It was a good play by Tom here, but unfortunately, foot came off the base. So it's Derek Morgenthaler who will reach on, I would say, an E6 on the throw. And in comes Drew Toombs to bat. Toombs, I believe, grounded out his first time at bat as he fouls that one off. Toombs has a on-base percentage of .513. One of the highest ones, second on the team. Average .321. See, watches ball one. So again, we got 2 outs here with Derek Morgenthaler on first and 1-1 the count on Drew Toombs. So let's see what the Dragons can do here with 2 outs. As he sees a curveball, he's able to fight it off. That's going to be tough as it goes down third base, and they're going to see if it rolls foul, and it does. Right before the bag, they let it trickle foul.
You know, that's a heads-up play there by the third baseman.
Very smart because Toombs was going to be safe. And you know, the third baseman didn't have nothing to lose. He's safe already. You know, it goes foul or they just stays fair and they pick it up. So that brings the count to 1-2 on Toombs. We didn't want that hit. We want to drive something to the outfield, don't we?
There you go.
As they check on Morgenthaler over at first base as he's back safely. Busenbark looks in, comes set, and he comes home. And Toombs fouls that one off above us to the right side. Keeps the count to 1-2. See if he can't drive one here down the left field side. Expecting maybe something off as Toombs steps out and calls time. A little off speed here maybe. Morgan Thaler takes his lead. And here's the pitch. And there's ball up and in. He barely gets out of the way of that one. Does the limbo.
Yeah.
2-2 the count. And the pitch. And there's one, a little breaking ball. It's outside, and that'll be 3-2 now. So Morgan Thaler able to take off on the pitch. Make sure you don't take off too early. No reason to get picked off. You're going to get a jump anyway. Toombs able to sit on one here. And here it is. And he swings through there as he drops. Oh, foul tip. He's just got a piece of it. And we'll do it again.
Keep your eye on it, Drew.
Be great for the Dragons here to strike first. So we've got 3-2 the count, 2 outs. Bottom of the fourth, Morgan Thaler gets checked on again. He's back safely. I think Busenbark's going to throw a lot of pitches to first base. Seems like he's done that quite a few times today. As he comes set, and the stride. And there's a ground ball. It's going to be the shortstop, comes over, throws to first, and out for the third out of the inning. So the Dragons strand the third of the game. And we still have a tied score, 0-0, going into the top of the fifth. We've talked about golf. How about track? We have the last, I think it was girls, our own track meet, our St. John High School Varsity Invitational. The girls were first out of the 12 teams that were there, and the boys took fifth out of the 12 teams that were there. Their next meet will be the Farmington Simpson Relays tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, that also is a really big meet. Quite a few schools there.
Yep.
Some St. Louis schools a lot of times will come down. It'd be the first time you get to see those. Some schools that typically are in maybe not our district, but our sectional. We'll see them. A couple of those teams, not all of them, but a couple of those will be there. And, you know, Farmington's got a really nice facility. You know, 8-lane, nice track. You know, I myself being a jumps coach for quite a few years, it was they have like 8 jump pits.
Really?
And so
wow.
For practices, it was really nice. So that'll be a nice test for specifically the girls who have a really strong team, and even for some of those boys who do really well.
Yeah, we were going to head over and watch. Anthony, you know, jumps and runs, and but there is me and my gal dodgeball in the elementary.
Nice.
So Tanya is going with Shay, and I'm probably going to go help with that. So
Okay.
fortunately, we won't make it over the track meet, but if you're out and about over towards Farmington, we'll watch some track.
You know, speaking of Anthony jumping, he told me he was going to clear 6'4" tomorrow. So
Ooh.
I hope he's right.
Me too. That's a big jump, you know. I would say if he was where he was his sophomore year,
yeah.
then I wouldn't be such a surprise, you know, where he was 6'2", I think was his best his sophomore year. But now he's, you know, with this year off with knee injuries, just hasn't quite gotten there.
Yeah.
Lombardier brings strike one. And there is ball one. So 1-1 the count, and that is Kraus, number 11. Kraus is 1 for 2 as he takes ball 2. 2-1 the count. Like to see Lombardier go through this inning quick again and at least getting back out for one more. And there's a good pitch right at the knees, but too low by the umpire's standards. And that's 3-1. Kraus able to sit on one here. And there's ball 4, too low. So walking that first batter is not a good way to start for the Dragons. Coming number 3, Grant Busenbark for the Knights.
Busenbark is also 1 for 2.
Able to see if he's able to help himself here. As good lead at first, and Lombardier notices that. Steps off. So there's a little bunt, and Busenbark is out at first, able to move the runner over. So the Knights do have a runner on second with 1 out. We're fighting Wasp up here. Did you get stung or just landed on you?
He landed on the back of my neck.
As Tom Muir steps in the bat.
It must be Tamur, because that's the way it was pronounced.
That was by
our own Clayton Gag.
Yeah. The voice of the Dragons, Geck. He's actually not wearing his Cardinals jacket. Got some green on today as there's Tamur fouls that one straight back. Lombardier gets ahead 0-1. One out here. The Knights have a runner on second. And he throws that one, and there's a steal, and he's in there. So a good pitch by Lombardier for a strike. Brings the count to 0-2, but who was that stole that? Who was?
Kraus.
Kraus must have got a good jump, because that was a good hard fastball, and Giesler had a good hard throw, and he was already there. So let's go after the batter as Lombardier lines and pitches outside. 1-2 the count. Get the batter here, and we'll get 2 outs, and that run won't mean anything. Runner over there. And here's the pitch, and there it is. Strike 3 by White as he blows that one by Tamur for the second out of the inning. Nice pitch by White. That was good heat, kind of low and away.
Brandon Winder.
And in steps Brandon Winder with 2 outs. So now we can make the easy play at first. And here comes Lombardier. Ball high.
Winder is 0 for 1 with a strikeout and a walk tonight.
Take that second strikeout. How about that? And there's the pitch. Ball 2. Low and away. Steps on the mound. All the Dragons moving behind him, and there's ball 3 outside. 3-0. Winder probably will be taking. Every once in a while, coaches let somebody rip a 3-0 pitch. See what happens here as he takes ball 4. So now we got first and third with 2 outs. Just seems like Lombardier's, he's pitching really good, but just has maybe 1-2 batters an inning that he's, losing control. But, it's almost like night and day between batters. Because he's went, 4 straight balls, I think a couple times. And there's strike 1. That's what we're looking for. Now batting number 16, sorry, and that's Connor Yordy. So first and third. See if the Knights, will run. And there's strike 2 as Yordy swings at a high fastball. 0-2 the count. So Lombardier ahead in the count. Doesn't want to throw anything right down the middle. Let's see if he can chase. There's the pitcher. He steps off. Good job by Lombardier to at least step off with the correct foot. A lot of times they'll do that to see if he'll balk. And at least, the runner did get down to second. But at least Lombardier didn't balk and let the runner at third be able to score.
Right.
As I know the Dragons and the JV did that a couple times against Park Hills the other night. And there's a drive, right up the middle. In comes, that's Morgan. Is that Morgan Thaler now?
Oh,
in
he
center, and
airmailed that one.
Yeah, it was a good shot. And he got there, and it was a cannon for an arm. But just, you know, as an outfielder, you want to aim low. You almost want it to bounce probably to the catcher more than anything.
Right.
One hopper.
Now batting.
Or hit him as a strike. I mean, it would be greater. But at least if you're aiming at the pitch where the pitcher's head would be on the mound, you should get it there, or at least again bounce once to the catcher. So the Knights strike first here in the top of the 5th inning as they score 2 off a double, and there's a ground ball to short. Henson comes in, makes the play for the 3rd out of the inning. But unfortunately, just one batter too late as the Knights off a double from Yorty scores 2 runs. They take the lead as we go into the bottom of the 5th, 2-0 Farmington Knights. The Cardinals won today.
That's what I heard. I hadn't seen a score.
7-0 against the Brewers. So that, I believe, brings them to 5-4. So they get that winning record. And
I heard Jaime may have pitched a pretty good game today.
yeah, I know that the hitting, you know, some of these young guys, and I guess you call them young guys, rookies, and then some of the other veterans are starting to come along too with hitting. I know that was kind of the big deal in the first series.
Yeah.
Of not picking up very many big hits, and Grichuk, who homered today, was one that, you know, really didn't look very good at the beginning of the year, but now he's coming along. He homered, and Hazelbaker homered also
Leading
tonight.
off for the Dragons, third baseman, number 1.
And
Waylon
he's him and Diaz,
Yeah.
both two guys that have, as rookies, really have stepped up. All right, in steps Waylon Kemper for the Dragons to lead off the 5th inning as he sees ball 1 outside. And here's a second pitch from Musenbark, and that's ball 2 into the dirt, into the turf and rubber.
Dirtish.
Yeah, the turf. And here's the 3, and that's inside, almost hits him, 3-0. You'll see, I'm sure Kemper will be taking here. 3-0 count. We need some base runners. I think we've only got the leadoff base runner on once in the first 4 innings, and that was at the very first inning. As Kemper takes strike 1. And there's ball 4 high, so the Dragons do get the leadoff batter on a 5-pitch walk.
Great job there by Waylon to be real patient there.
Yeah, very patient. You know, I mean, I don't know, maybe Gibson's telling, hey, let's make sure he throws strikes, but he's been consistent, so I don't know why you'd think you could just sit there and watch a lot of pitches, but good job by Kemper. And Vaith now steps in and takes strike 1 on the outside corner. Great time for Vaith to pull 1 down the first base line. Again, Busenbark's not overpowering. And Vaith, there you go.
There's a good hit.
A little base hit to the left center. It drops over the shortstop's head, and we have 2 on now here in the bottom of the 5th. In stepping Camden Rowe. I'll bet he's bunting.
You know, I'm not going to take that bet.
What if I give you 10 to 1 odds?
Still not going to take it.
15, 20, 50?
Nope.
100?
Nope.
And there he squares around the bunt, but pulls it back as the ball is low and away. I don't know how I knew that.
Not sure how either.
You know, just magic. He's got some speed. He's known to bunt for hits, known to bunts to move people over, and there he goes. He puts it down. They're going to try to get the runner at third, and they do. He got the bunt down just a little too hard back towards the pitcher.
you know, it's really hard on this turf. You know, not that the turf is fast by any means, but you're not going to get any grass deadening it or anything of that nature.
Yeah, you know, again, good bunt, just, you know, a little too more straight. If you get it over towards the first base side or even the third base side where the pitcher has to take a few more steps, I think Kipper could have been there. But so now we have 1 out, and in steps Wyatt Lomadier. And there's a ball low. And good stop by the catcher. I think that's Westbrook. I can't tell the number. Good stop by him to keep the runners at first and second. And we have Faith at second. And we have Rowe now down at first as he reached on his fielder's choice bunt. And there's a drive by Lomadier. That could be trouble. The left fielder going back over his head. Whalen is going to, Faith now is going to come around to score. Camden speeds into third base, and he's safe at third. So a 1-out double by Wyatt Lomadier puts the Dragons on the board, and now they are down 2-1 with runner at second and third with 1 out. Nice job by Wyatt Lomadier to pick up a big hit there. So again, we have runners at second and third for the Dragons, 1 out, and Grant Staffen steps in. Let's see if Staffen can help his RBI count, as remember he's got 8 RBIs on the season. Lomadier picked up his 9th RBI and his 10th hit, 4th double. Staffen now 1-1, and here's the pitch. There's a little breaking ball outside, 2-1 the count. So Farmington playing in on the green turf, the grass turf, I guess, because they don't want to give up the tying run, and Staffen swings through that one. Good cut. That's strike 2, 2-2 the count. So we can hit it hard in a gap. Not much range by the infielders. Outfield is playing shallow also. And there's Staffen as he drives it right over the shortstop's head. Rowe's going to score. Round comes Lomadier with his speed. He's going to score easily. So, and Staffen back in at first. So a 2 RBI single by Grant Staffen as he drove that ball hard. And again, if the shortstop wasn't in, that probably would have been an out.
Yeah, I think it would have been right to him about chest high.
Yeah, right at him. So, but, you know, Farmington not wanting to give up the lead. Can't blame the coaches for doing that, but because of the positioning and a good hard hit by Staffen, the Dragons now take the lead 3-2, again on a 2 RBI single by Grant Staffen. So that gives Staffen 10 RBIs on the season. And in steps Giesler as they check on Staffen again. As Gibson kind of tells Staffen maybe not such a big lead here. We got 1 out in the bottom of the 5th. And Giesler swings through that one. It's a good hard swing, but a little change up maybe.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Yeah, they just let up a little one. Giesler's out in front of that one. Good cut. So 0-1 for Dalton. Dalton does have 10 RBIs as he takes ball 1 in the dirt. He's got 13 hits, 32 at bats. And batting .406 coming in today. Slugging percentage of .656, which is the highest on the, well, no, second highest is Brewster, is 2 for 2 on the year. So he's got 1,000 slugging percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to forget that. As the Farmington coach and catcher goes out to talk to Busenbark, settle him down a little bit. Be great for the Dragons to add another one here, or 2, or 3. So Giesler digs in now after a little wait. Staffen gets his lead at first. Busenbark looks in for the signs, and now Giesler calls time. And he steps in again. Busenbark comes set and home, and Giesler fouls that one back. That'll bring the count to 1-2. Here's the pitch inside. Surprised I haven't heard "wear it" from the dugout. Maybe they did. I just didn't hear it. 2-2 here with 1 out now in the bottom of the 5th. Runner on first, and Giesler hits that one. That's right to the shortstop. Flips to second, turns, throws, and the throw was down towards home plate. So Tom Urey having to come off the base. So Giesler is safe at first on the fielder's choice. And we will have Chad Dunsey as a pinch runner for Dalton Giesler, the catcher. Brady Boyer steps in to bat. Now Brady is 0 for 2 today. Strikeout and a ground out.
Yeah.
And he hits that one. Oh, good play by the third baseman as he dives, gets up. But Boyer on a roundabout play. I don't know how he's running down the baseline there, but he beats it out. Good play by, is that Labrat? Looks like Labrat over at third base as he dove and made a good stop, but not able to get up fast enough and make the throw to beat Boyer out at first. It's one of those you might have to dive and throw from your, if you can just throw from your knees. That's a tough play though, all the way across the diamond. And in steps Derek Morgenthaler as he fouls the first one off to the left side. So the Dragons now have first and second with 2 outs. In Chad Dunsey, pinch running for Giesler, he's at second. Boyer with some speed at first, and Morgenthaler takes ball 1. So we might be able to score 1, maybe 2 on a good gap shot with 2 outs. They'll be running on contact with some speed with Boyer at first. And here's the pitch, and he does. He just little bloops it between first and second, and he bobbles it, and that's going to allow Dunsey to score and Boyer to move to third. So that's Bader out there in right field. He came in to make just to pick it up and throw it in, and he bobbles it. And I don't know if he would have got that cleanly, if Dunsey would have been able to score. So a base hit with an RBI for Derek Morgenthaler. Would you still consider that an RBI, or would he base it with a error for the run?
Probably would give him the RBI because Coach McDaniel was sending him.
No matter what. Okay. So now the Dragons lead 4-2, and there's a diving play by the shortstop, and he knocked it down and was able to make a little toss to second as Morgenthaler was on first base. Probably would have been a base hit for who hit that? Drew, sorry. Would have been a base hit, I think, for Drew, because I don't think he could have thrown him out at first.
Yeah.
On that play.
Well, and I think, when you've got a guy on first, that shortstop's going to cheat a little bit to the middle anyway, and so, I think all of that was happening there, and it's just unfortunate, but that's called baseball, and that's what happens in these games. You go from one night being 4 for 4 with tattooing the ball, and now he's hit the ball hard every time. He's just at somebody.
But the Dragons, with a great bottom of the 5th inning, is able to score 4 runs and take the lead from the Knights. So good hitting. Now Wyatt Lombardier is kind of in his spot here to come in and continue to do what he's been doing and maybe take a few of those walks out.
Right.
And he's having a really, really good game.
I see they have made a little bit of a position change in the outfield. We didn't mention that before. Derek threw that one way high, but Camden has moved from right to left. Brady has moved from center to right, and Derek has moved from left to center.
So let's think about this as a coaching. Same 3 outfielders, so you're switching them around. Don't know if where he thinks the ball maybe it's going to be hit at one place more than the other. So I'm not sure. That's something maybe we'll have to ask Coach McDaniel just to get his thoughts on that one.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say Wyatt throws hard. They've been behind on some pitches, hitting a lot to right field, and maybe he just wants to put a guy that starts out there typically most of the time in right field. Not that Camden's done a bad job. He's not made a misplay on any ball.
Yeah,
but
you're right, Brady. That's Brady where he does start.
Yeah.
But with Wyatt not in center and pitching, they've kind of started Camden and moved some guys around. So here we go. We're going to start the top of the 6th inning. Looks like Brat up
Well,
to
we
bat.
got a
Nope.
pinch hitter
Oh,
here.
I just seen the big guy, so.
Yeah.
What do we got? Number 20. Can't see the number. But he takes strike one, so makes the count 1-1.
Yeah,
Is that
I can't-
21 Chase Montgomery?
It could be.
It's a 20-something, so. And there's ball two. We'll let you know if he turns around.
Wyatt get him to take a full
Could
swing
be
here. We'll be able
Van
to see.
Stavern, 23, I guess, as he watches strike two. Well, he's going to sit there and watch some pitches. You might not see his number unless he's walking back to the dugout.
Yeah.
How about that? We'll take it. We'll get his name in there when he's out. Ooh, ball high and away. Brings the count to 3-2. And here's the pitch from Wyatt Lomadier. And he holds up and tries, thinking it's a ball, and he's gunned out for strike number 3. He's looking, and that was number 21, Chase Montgomery, who was
Now batting right fielder,
DHing.
number 1, John Bader.
And in steps number 1, John Bader. I believe Bader had a base hit the last time up at bat. He drove that one up the middle, and I think he had the RBIs, didn't
Yeah.
he? So he watches strike one. Bader also little mishap there in right field, bobbled that ball and allowed the Dragons to score their first run. And there's a ground ball to Staffen, and kind of let up on that throw. A good stretch by Drew Toombs to make sure we get the out there. Staffen, again, just knew he had time to make it and almost let up a little too much.
Yeah.
But good job to make the second out of the inning. And in steps the leadoff batter, Castro. Castro is 1 for 3. And he takes ball one.
I'm going to make a correction on what I did
Oh.
confirm earlier. It was Yordi who had that single that scored the 2 runs for Farmington.
Did Bader have a hit, though?
He did. He
Okay.
did have a hit last at bat.
So I'm not all the way wrong.
No.
There's a little ground ball towards the third base coach. And the other coach makes a good snag, barehanded. And it brings the count to 1-2. So Lomadier doing a good job here in the 6th inning. There's ball high, 2-2. Still bringing the heat. Still working a little high, but been very effective today. And there's another one up, 3-2 now. 2 outs, 3-2 the count. No runners on. Pitch from Lomadier. Ball low, so there's a walk. So runner on first as Castro trots down there as he walks in 6 pitches. And Coach McDaniel's going to come out, talk to Wyatt. Don't think he'll make a change yet unless his pitch count's way up there.
Yeah,
He's worried about that, but
I'm sure his pitch count is up, but I don't anticipate he will either. 2 outs in this inning. You want Wyatt to try to get through it. Maybe minimize the pitches here to this next batter. Be focused. Let your defense play behind you. I'm not sure what his pitch count is, but he has gone pretty deep on quite a few different hitters.
that looks like number 11, Braden Krause, is the batter that's going to be coming up for the Knights. Looks like we do have some more people that's coming up on the hill.
That is the 6th walk by Wyatt this game.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned earlier, it's almost night and day between batters. I mean, he just
Right.
looks really, really good, and then he has one or two batter here and there that he just kind of loses his control. So again, we have 2 outs here. There is a runner on first. Lomadier strides home, and there's ball 1. Look.
Krause is 1 for 2 with a walk tonight.
There's a good lead at first. And there's a little ground ball to Kemper. He takes the hop, throws across, and Toombs. Wow. Good stretch by Toombs to make that play. Nice job by Kemper and Toombs to make the 3rd out of the inning. And so the Dragons will keep their lead going into the bottom of the 6th. Again, 4-2.
You know, we're going to bring up the lineup that got it restarted last inning for us. You know, the last inning started with Kemper, Vaith, and Rowe, and that's where we're going to start at again, start of this inning.
Well, I don't know about you, but I won't mind if they do it again.
You know, I'd love to see that, Coach.
Wouldn't bother me at all. We haven't talked about the Blues. How about the Blues last night? Did you stay up and watch?
I have to admit I did.
I did too.
Yep.
It was, I mean.
I think I unfortunately might have given my wife almost a heart attack because I was sitting in a chair that we have in our bedroom while she was sleeping with the TV on, and the minute Backus scored off of the defenseman's skate, I started clapping, and I think I don't believe she cursed at me, but I think she wanted to.
Yeah, that's okay. That's part of being married, right?
That is.
Take the bad with the good. The question is it more bad or good? You don't answer it. Don't answer it.
Yeah.
No.
As she's up here, she's been running the camera for us, so we're not going to let her answer that.
Yeah, I stayed up and watched. I mean, some people probably think it's 0-0 all the way through, kind of boring, no scoring.
Not
but
at all.
I mean, it was
Not at all.
because there was a lot of good shots, a lot of chances. The goaltenders were really good.
Yeah, they both played well. You know, Chicago had a ton of shots on goal compared to the Blues, but the Blues had way more hits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the style of hockey I like to see is they're finishing checks and, you know, crunching guys a little bit.
All right, in steps Kemper as he swings at the first one. He grounds it up the middle towards the second baseman. He's over to cut it off. So that's one pitch and one out here in the bottom of the sixth. In steps Daniel Vaith.
Daniel had a nice hit last inning right over the shortstop's head and out into center field.
Here's the pitch to Vaith. And it's a ball inside. So he scoots out of the way.
Yeah, so it was an exciting night and, you know, had a really good ball game going down to the wire up at DeSoto and then come home and watch the Blues.
Yeah, there's a
nice
base hit.
Nice hit, Daniel.
Just past the first baseman on the right side, and Vaith picks up his second hit of the night. And so what's that make him? 2 for 3?
He is 2
That'll
for 3.
definitely increase his average. It was 226 coming in. And now up to bat is Camden Rowe. I believe Camden is 0 for 1. No, he's got
0 for 2.
0 for 2.
He had a fielder's choice and a ground out.
Yeah. As he tries to bunt again, and that one down the first base side, and probably would have beat it out, but it rolls foul.
Yeah, he went for the sacrifice last at
right.
bat.
Yep.
Got thrown out at third through Kemper.
So he reached. I knew he reached, but yeah. So we'll see if he tries it again. I'm pretty sure he was bunting for a hit there, not a
looked
sacrifice.
like it. Yeah, I totally agree. Came sprinting out of the box.
There's a ball. So he brings it back, and they throw down to first to see if they can't catch Vaith, and Vaith back safely. So 1-1 the count. Yeah, I'd like to see if over – now we don't have it all, but over, Camden's River Dog days, if he has more base hits on bunts than base hits on swinging.
I'm not sure. I can tell you this, and you and I spent a lot of River Dog time together. He has a ton of base hits through bunt.
And not that he can't hit. I mean, he's definitely, I think, this year, he tried to slap at that one. It was too high. So 2-2 the count. He's hit the ball much better, I think, this year on the JV levels where he's played mainly. But, you can always looking to bunt for a base hit with his speed. And there's a ball up. This little curveball doesn't break enough.
That's the advantage, that Camden has with the speed he has. He has those base hits, and they turn into doubles pretty quick if, the outfielder bobbles the ball. He is super quick.
And he foul tips that one, but the catcher catches it. So that'll be the second out of the inning. And in steps Wyatt Lomadier, who was able to double the last time of the bat last inning. Scored 2 RBIs, I believe.
Yes.
Wouldn't mind a nice drive now. The left fielder is way back. It's hard to judge from here, but he is.
He's not far from the fence.
He's not far from the fence. He's not going to get burnt again. I like to see him burn the center fielder this time.
Who seems extremely shallow.
Yes. And he fouls that one to the right side.
Gibson make the play.
1-1.
Hey.
He picked it up. I don't know if he made the play, but he did pick it up, throw it. Can't quite see because of the dugout covers, but at least he's still moving. That's
true.
Yeah. Not yelling man down. 1-1 the count here with 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th, and Lamadure fouls that one off. It was good hard cuts right on it. Scared some of the fans that are straight back, or oh no, is that Frank?
Yeah, I think it hit Frank's. It hit
Oh,
Frank's
his
computer, I believe.
And he tosses a piece.
Yeah, he slammed a piece down.
It might be broken. As they check on Vaith, he's back safely at first. Yeah, you can tell that piece he tossed down.
Yeah, he's looking at a piece
Looks
of
like
it now.
he's still talking. So, I mean, everything's working, I guess. But and there's a ball high, 2-2 the count. So, again, we got a runner on first with Wyatt Lamadure up, 2-2 the count, 2 outs. 2s across the board there. You hear the dugouts, especially the Dragons dugout, getting a little rowdy, a little loud, and there's a pitch, ball 3. Full count. So Vaith will be off on the pitch as there's 2 outs and full count. Back is Vaith. I was yelled back there. I guess that goes back to coaching. Tried to play it smoothly. Vaith is in back safely. And, oh, man, he calls strike 3
that was,
on Lamadure. It was
wow.
high and away. And
That was definitely over the
high
letters.
and away. And
I'm not afraid to say it.
high and away. So that ends the 6th inning as the Dragons do strand a runner on first. But they still have the lead, 4-2.
Looks like we're going to have a new pitcher.
We go into the top of the 7th, and it's Brewster. Jake Brewster. I think Brewster has pitched in 3 games.
Yeah, he came in last night in relief up at DeSoto, did a really good job.
3 games. He has given up 9 hits and 11 runs, 7 walks, and 7 strikeouts. And I know that I think it was the first game he pitched in was here. I seen, and he's coming off that leg injury, and it didn't fare too well. But I think that was against North County, and none of the Dragon pitchers, I think, fared great that time.
After the 6th.
Yeah,
once we got to the 6th.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're right. That was because Toombs pitched pretty good into the. Wasn't it him pitched into the 5th? Pretty good.
He pitched. Yeah, it was. We were up 2-1 going to the 6th through 5 innings.
That's right.
We were up 2-1, and then gave up a leadoff home run to the freshman Poorman to tie it, and I think got a little rattled and gave up some hits and walks, and then they brought in Brewster. And
so Brewster's pitched well lately, and so the Dragons need to get 3 outs here in the game. Would be nice.
Number 3, 4, and 5 hitters for Farmington coming up.
And so that's Busenbark. And there's the first pitch, and it's ball low. I don't think we've got any other fielding changes for the Dragons.
Wyatt went out to center.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Looks like Camden came out of the game. Derrick's at left, and Brady is in.
That's right.
Right.
And that ball's fouled off behind us. It's a good thing you can see everything.
Yeah.
So 1-1 the count, and Brewster comes home. There's another one fouled
It's
off.
Carbon Cobby.
Yep, behind us. That brings the count to 1-2. So let's see what Brewster brings Busenbark here. And it's a little high and away. That's ball 2, 2-2 the count.
Been joined up here in the booth with our high school principal, Mr. Haney. Good to see you tonight.
And there's a ground ball, and off the glove of Staffen, and he tries to get there in time, but Busenbark able to beat that out. But great diving play to at least knock it down for Grant Staffen. They're on. And in steps number 25, Garrett Tamir. I do believe Tamir has at least one hit today. As it looks like they're going to switch out balls, as that one had a
Yeah, a nice scuff. I could even see it from here.
little chunk out of it, or cut. So no outs, and the Knights again getting their leadoff batter on. So Busenbark's on first, and Tamir up to bat. And there's the pitch from Brewster. Ooh, looked good to me. Right at the knees, but as a ball. So that big strike zone now has, well, was on White Lavender the last inning, but now taken away. As there's ball 2. Dragons in double play depth. Toombs holding on the runner at first. And there's ball 3. 3-0 the count. I would expect he's taking. And you're down by 2 and need some base runners. There's a strike 1 from Brewster. See if Jake can battle back. Again, you want to throw strikes and let your defense do the work. There's strike 2. As he was 7 out of the box and thought he had a walk there. So full count here on Tamir. And there's a shot to right field. Boyer bobbles it a little bit, but able to here. And now the Knights have first and second. And comes number
0 for 1, 2 walks.
2 walks. And it looks like we'll have a pinch runner. It'll be number 10, Ryan Probst for the Knights. Will come in to run for Tamir. Which Tamir is a first baseman, so it's not just a pinch runner. He must be going into the game.
Well, they do have that re-entry rule.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forget about that.
I'm sure Farmington coach wants to maybe get a little more speed on the base paths.
Yep, that
you know,
is
down
the
2
tying run
runs
at first. So we'll see what the Dragons can do here. We really need a good defensive play. Somebody make a play. How about a double play? Let's call Staffen to Henson. Double play. As they try to keep the runner on it, and and it's Henson. He's came off the bag. Staffen came off the bag. So we had a interesting play there. And Coach McDaniel's going to come out and argue that he was still on there.
It's not even close. Help him out.
But that was interesting because Henson was running in front of the runner at second, and to try to keep him on a little pickoff play. Well, he pitched it. The batter showed bunt, pulled it back, and then grounded. So Kemper was charging. So Henson actually made the play in the third baseman spot. So now the Knights have bases loaded here with no outs in the top of the 7th. And this is Yordi up to bat. And there's a drive to center field. Lamadere is underneath it. He's got a good arm, but that's going to be tough. And there's a high.
Should have went 3 there.
Yeah, so there'll be a scoring run. I mean, he made it all the way there, but like you said, you want to keep the runners at first and second. And now they've moved to second and third with 1 out.
Now batting left fielder, number 7, Braden Moon.
So 1 out here, and the Knights pick up 1 run, so it's 4-3, 1 out, second and third. So infield is in, not one to give up the tying run. As Brewster, there's a little change up in there for strike 1, and that is Braden Moon up to bat. And here's the pitch. He shows bunt. He shows, or swipes at it, I would say, for strike 2. So 0-2 the count. Sure the Knights coach not happy about that one.
Yeah, you want Brewster to bear down here, come after this guy, hopefully get a strikeout here.
Yeah, see if we can't blow one by him. And there it is. Nice job. Jake Brewster picking up the heat. Blows by him, and that's the second out of the inning. So now we got 2 outs. The infield can move back, and the play is at first base.
LeBron is back into the ball game this time.
So Gunnar Lebrat, as he watches strike one. I don't think he's liked a lot of pitches. I don't know what he's yeah, well, that's why he struck out 3 times. No, twice, because the other one was the pinch batter. And there's a drive to right field, and that will hook foul. As that with 2 outs, all runners were going, that would have scored.
I was kind of doing
2.
the Carl Yastrzemski.
I think the wind you gave it pushed it over there. Good job. So 0-2 the count. So now Brewster maybe can waste the pitch here. You don't want to get behind, but you definitely don't want to throw something right down the middle, and he does.
Great job by
Changeup
Dalton
or break
Giesler
the
there.
Ball in the dirt. Giesler with a nice stop. So now we have 1-2 the count. 2 outs, 2 runners on. 4-3 the score. Dragons looking for the 3rd out here to pick up their 5th win of the season, and that pitch is outside just a tad. Brings the count to 2-2. Wouldn't have it any other way. Let's make it interesting. And there's a pitch, strike 3. Nice job by Jake Brewster, as LeBron doesn't like that call, but that looked like it was on the corner. He's called that all day long.
Dalton Giesler didn't even move his glove, so.
And so nice job by Jake Brewster to battle out of that, striking out the last 2 batters to end the inning and give the Dragons their first conference win, 4-3 over the Farmington Knights. And that's a good feeling for the Dragons, as they've lost the last couple of close games.
And that's exactly right, Coach. And of course I go to all these games with Drew playing and stuff, and the last 2 games have been those heartbreaker types that you just want to get over that hump. And we talked earlier about age, and you're right, we don't want to use that as an excuse, because as they go through the season they're getting that experience. But this was one of those that they needed to show that they're not going to not only play in those close games, but they can find ways to win those too.
Yeah, it's big, because we talked about they're not playing bad. We're not going to say they're playing great either. You're 4-7, so you definitely can't say that.
5 now.
Oh, sorry, 5-7. But to win that close one, it just gives you a little extra. Let's say you beat Farmington. Don't get me wrong, if you beat them 10-0, that has a really good feeling too. But for a coaching standpoint, and what you've done so far this season, that you're gonna be in close games.
Right, absolutely.
And so to come out on top of that one and get the pitching, I don't know. I haven't seen every game, but this is probably the best. Not that it was the greatest pitching, but out of Wyatt Lombardier, the best pitching he's had all season.
I would totally agree. Wyatt, though I'm sure his pitch count was up. We talked about how deep he worked in counts. He walked 6 guys, but I think as what he's pitched this year, I think you kind of see him getting back on track a little bit, and being able to battle through. And I like how you said it. It was almost like the guys he was facing was kind of a roller coaster. One guy he would really struggle, maybe end up walking him or pitching a groove pitch and them getting a hit, and the next guy he would almost come up and dominate. So, I also want to mention Jake Brewster coming in there at the end, and he worked into a little bit of trouble or worked out of a little bit of trouble, whatever, the calls happen, what do you want to call it. But it's nice to have Jake to call back on. He did pitch early that North County game. The jitters of coming back after the broken leg at the start of this year. Everybody not even really sure how much he would be able to do anything after having the rod and all that in his leg. And, so I know there were some jitters that North County game, but he came in again last night and threw a total of, somewhere around 3 innings, 2 2/3, something of that nature, and, looked pretty strong. He still walked a few, and, he's coming back from, getting into shape. But he came out here tonight, and, Grant made a diving play, almost had that kid out. You had the kid Grant got pulled off a second, supposedly, on that play. But still to come in and battle and get the outs, and pretty much, I'm just going to say it, dominate the last 2 hitters, 2 strikeouts. And that's what we need. It's really nice to see that Jake be able to have that opportunity to do that and get back to the game.
Yeah, you said battle because, where they scored they scored a run on the pop fly, but the one where it bounced and you said he pulled him off second base. There was a lot going on there, and then you have Coach McDaniel coming out and kind of arguing,
Sure.
and that can kind of go two ways. That with all the stuff going on, you can get flustered. Not keep your calm, and it's
Right.
kind of like when things aren't going well in any game, and there's a lot of yelling from fans, and it's easy to lose concentration. But after that, he settled in there, and he threw strikes. He got the pop fly, which scored a run. But he was throwing strikes, and then
Absolutely.
he struck the last two out. So, it'd be good to keep. I don't know if he'll ever use him as a starter, but you almost like to have a guy who's just your relief guy.
Yeah,
and
and that's where I see Jake fitting in. And again, you don't know what Coach McDaniel's going to do. Maybe he will plan on starting him at some point in time. I'm sure it'll be after, Jake's had a time to build that arm strength with not being able to do much throwing until here, the early part of this season.
So again, the Dragons win that one 4-3. Again, bringing their record to 5-7. And we mentioned that they will play Saturday. Mentioned this earlier. They'll play Saturday at 9 and 11 against Duchesne and the St. Louis Patriots. Talked about pitching and the hitting.
Right.
Wasn't great all the way around, but I think we had hits when we needed them.
Right, and that's the thing. Early season we were getting some hits. We were struggling a little, getting some hits, but we never could string any hits together. And that's the one thing that I've noticed here recently. Again, the second half of the Park Hills game, a lot of last night at the DeSoto game, and tonight we found ways to string those hits together to allow some people to score. Even though we, only had a couple of hits here and there throughout the first few innings, there was that crucial point where we got some walks and some hits to allow us to score. And then the big hit by Wyatt Lalmadeer, the double over the left fielder's head.
Yeah, we had 3 strikeouts, 2 looking, and then Camden's was actually on a foul tip, so
Right.
just kind of unfortunate he didn't get enough to keep it away from the catcher. But 3 strikeouts, 4 runs, and they just kept at it, because like you said, they got a hit here and a hit there early, but then they were able to string them together when they needed. They were down 2-0, easy for you to go up there and that was the 6th inning. If
Correct.
I'm not mistaken,
Correct.
to go up and say, here we go again. Just going to lose this one, in a close game. But to do what they what they needed to do. Oh, it's the 5th inning.
5th inning. Yeah.
To pick up some runs. So it's good, like you said, over the last few games, the hitting has come around, and really up and down the lineup. I don't see one guy that's not doing very well, and a couple of guys probably have a higher average, but it just seems
Right.
like every guy now is starting to pick up the bats.
Yeah, and we talked about even those guys maybe whose batting averages were a little bit lower. It seems like they're finding a groove. Tonight, Drew's batting average isn't great, and he's my son, so of course I know that he had a good night last night. But even today, every ball he hit, a lot of these guys, every ball they hit, were right on the screws, and were actually just fielded nicely and right at somebody.
Yeah, you say, just looking at the averages, he's not hitting great. And probably in the high school, the averages are a little higher than what you think Major League. But if he was in the majors, he's batting pretty good. He was batting .312 coming in today.
It's 208 last night until he went 4 for 4. Just
well,
so you know.
there you go. But overall, again, the averages aren't bad, especially out of the main players there. And like you said, they hit the ball hard.
Yeah.
We had watched 2 strike. We had 2 strikes watching, but other than that,
well,
they were up there being aggressive, I thought.
And the one was Wyatt's, which,
it was
I'm
way
not afraid to
outside.
say
Yep.
was pretty high and outside. So.
Yeah, that's true. Because the other part, the rest of them, they were up there to hit, not just to sit and watch.
Yeah.
Errors?
I see Coach down there, McDaniel. I wonder if we can get him up here.
Yeah, there's a couple other radio stations, so I don't know. Frank looks like he's not. His equipment might have shut down, so he's not on. But there's another radio station. But Staffen had the diving play and didn't get the guy. But I don't know if I'd call that an error.
No.
The tough play where he Staffen came off the base. I don't know if that had been a throwing error. But
Yeah.
other than that, I don't remember
you know,
any
even
errors, just basic errors.
The one error that I definitely would mark an error in the book and did was the one where Derek airmailed it and allowed the runner to move up off the single to second base. So
yeah, to score.
Yeah.
That was an error to score. But no errors on, the hits. They
Right.
made the plays when it was hit to them. And that's good to see, too, because, Gibson said, if we can do 2 out of 3 things, if we can either hit and have no errors, the walks won't hurt you as much if you don't err. If you don't walk, you can have an error here or there or something, or if you can have no walks and no errors, then you don't have to hit the ball as much because you can win a close game. And I think they probably did all 3 really well.
You're right.
We did, the walks was a few there. Air 1, maybe 2 if you push it. And again, I think the hits were enough, maybe to get there. So I think all 3 aspects they did
we're pretty good.
were pretty good.
Yeah. I think Coach Gibson, I think I got his tits, and he might be up.
You want to talk to him?
No, I can't wait to turn this headset over to Coach Gibson. Let you guys here he comes right here. So I'm going to turn this over to assistant coach, Coach Mark Gibson, and let you guys maybe rekindle a little bit of of the football glory here.
He turns the hat on backwards.
Yeah, you got to get ready to go.
Roll.
Let's make sure we get the background set first. So, Coach Coleman is actually like one of my own kids. He spent a lot of time at my house when he was a teenager and a young man. And so a lot of the banter that goes back and forth is almost like father and son. So I hear that almost every game I get picked on. What's the deal?
Well, I can't. Can I lie, I guess? No, you're right. I didn't really pick on you. There was one. You made the question is because it was over in front of the dugout. Did you make the play on that ball, or did it bobble or hit the fence and you just picked it up?
What happened was.
So you can lie because I didn't really see it.
Well, I'll tell you what happened because I'm not going to lie. The ball came to me. I moved forward like I was supposed to. I stayed down. The ball hit my glove hand, which I did not have a glove on, which is not an excuse. I kept it in front, picked it up. Couldn't throw to the pitcher because I'm old, and I threw it to the first baseman so he could throw it to the pitcher.
That's good. Then you did what you tell your kids: keep it in front and make the play,
and throw it to somebody else so that they can throw it.
We won't add that. Well, when you came back out walking, I thought, okay, it was good. That's what my comment was. He's up. He's not
I wasn't
down.
limping or bleeding or anything like that. Yeah.
So, let's talk about the game. Actually, I was just talking about what me and you talked about this morning and the 3 aspects, of baseball: the hitting, the fielding, and the pitching. And let's talk about the pitching first, because you said if we can do 2 of the 3, that we can win games. So, first, did you think we did the pitching, and what did you think about it?
Well, I think we did. If I was going to pick one of the week 3, it was the pitching. We walked a lot of batters, or not a lot, but more batters than we wanted to. And in the inning that they scored 2 walks.
Yes.
And so the pitching would be our weak spot. But that's what I'd say about the pitching.
Well, that was one thing, the walks, but it just seemed like Wyatt he was on it, and then because I know a couple of those walks, it was 4 straight pitches.
Right.
And not all of them were that way, but it just seemed like he was bringing it and he was on it, or he was just kind of off it for that batter. And I thought he pitched really hard. He was up in the strike zone a lot, which luckily I don't think it ever hurt him. But I think if he could tweak something, he needs to throw strikes a little more. But if he can work down in the zone.
That's probably been his biggest problem. His first outing this year was upstairs, and he had to come out of the game because of that. But he's come a long way, and he's getting better at it, and we're working on the release point a little bit more. And follow through. Sometimes he doesn't get down low enough and follow through, but we're working on it, and he's improving, and so that's all you can ask. And
definitely the best of the season, I think he's done.
His last start was pretty good. I'd say his last start was probably a little better than this one, but not much. I think they're pretty equal.
And then Brewster had some trouble, but we talked about how he batted out. He struck out the last 2 batters himself.
Well, he personally told me that he let the first 2 batters hit the ball so he could strike out the last 2 batters.
Well, there you go.
So
if it works out that way every time, we'll take it. So what about the fielding? Yes or no?
Fielding was spectacular. It was sparkling, and so that's what we got to have.
I think
And you know, and it was that way the entire game. I mean, we made a couple of little mistakes, like we didn't throw a cut to the right base one time that scored a run, but we covered that mistake up. And I mean, the mistakes that were made weren't outright errors; they were probably judgment errors, but not really horrendous ones.
Yeah, I don't think anywhere on the hits themselves. You know, the players made the plays that were hit to them. I think Russ, the only error he marked was a throwing error that scored the run or allowed runners to move up. And that was Derek Morgenthaler trying to, you know, launch it all the way home. Good arm, but just.
And, you know, those kind of errors for some reason don't register in my mind because it's a error that happens after the ball is hit. I mean, they are errors, but I just, for some reason, especially from an outfielder, they're not going to make a perfect strike every time. So.
And then so hitting. I think.
Well, you know, I think we hit the ball well. I think that we may have been under it a little bit early in the game and over it a little. We weren't hitting the middle of the baseball, and we were stressing that the inning before we got the runs, and I think we kind of dialed it in a little bit. And we went up in the inning, we scored runs. Everybody that batted was aggressive.
Yes.
You know, everybody wanted to hit the ball. Nobody wanted to walk, and we're trying. We've been trying the last few games to get them out of that syndrome, and I think they have. I think will they stay out of that syndrome? I hope so. But I think we had some games where we went up there thinking, as a team, there were 6 or 7 batters that was going, I'm going to walk this time, and you can't be that.
I think aggressive is a good word. You did have 2 strikeout looking Wyatts, though. You know, Tim has made a good point. I wouldn't count that one against him. That pitch was definitely out of the strike zone, but. You know, again, that they're aggressive and maybe not had the hits all game long that you really want, but you definitely got the hits when you needed it. Wyatt Lamadier's drive to left field was great when you needed it.
Well, when we started putting base runners on early in the inning without any outs, you can't waste that. And that inning, we really just kept hammering it, and it worked out. So
yeah, he drove that one to left field, and the next time he came up the bat, the left fielder might have been 10 feet from the fence. So, you know, it was a good job by him and everyone to do the job to get enough runs scored. So, you know, we had a question. I don't know if you'll know this, unless you were the genius behind the thing, but the outfielders, you switched you kept the same outfielders, but you switched spots, and we were just kind of wondering why. You know, Camden was in right and he went to left. Derek was in left, went to center. Brady was in center and went to right. Yeah.
Well, the reason why we did that, and to tell you the truth, the coaching staff, you know, Coach McDaniel makes the final decision on everything. But the neat thing about coaching with this staff, and it has been this way from the beginning, a decade, and it's the fact that we all have input. And that first came from Coach Schwent. He said that there's a possibility that Rowe needs to go this way because they're not keeping up with Lamadier and more balls are going to right. Maybe we need to get a speedier runner in that area. And Coach McDaniel said, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So it was Coach Swent that brought it up first. Of course, I did agree with it, so I take full responsibility for that decision.
Yeah, we figured you would.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I said I'm sure you were the mastermind behind it.
Yeah, no, it was Coach Swent.
And we thought maybe because Brady's used to playing right
field.
Yes,
that's part of it, too.
It was to get him back in his –
dealing with the sun, and that's always a problem at this field.
Yeah, we thought Camden, I think that first ball hit to him might have been the issue a little bit of the sun. I mean, can't make excuses. But
well, he's a good enough fielder in judging the ball that he hardly ever goes the wrong direction, and he waited and waited and waited. It's because he couldn't see the ball.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, overall, I thought the defense was good, you know, and at times the pitching was great, and then, you know, the fielding, you know, we had guys diving for balls. Staffen didn't make the play, but, you know, dove. And so all around, I thought the fielding was really good. So, and it's got to be great to beat Farmington, no matter how you do it and when you do it.
Well, they're kind of one of those. I wouldn't call them like an arch rival or a nemesis by any means, but I think that we always enjoy a win, no matter who it is. But it's a lot of fun when they're always a good team, and it's a lot of fun when you beat them.
Yeah. So your JV will be playing next. I'm sure you want to get down get down there.
Well,
and-
Coach Schwentz got that handled.
Oh,
I'll just,
you just-
stay up here and watch.
Okay.
No, I got to get down
Do you
there.
get to sit in the dugout, or do you actually have to coach a base?
Well, I have a
tonight?
chair. I just sit
Oh.
there. They bring me iced tea.
Your JV record, do you know?
6-1.
6-1.
But I'm not sure. No, it's 6-1.
6-1. Well, then that's good.
Yeah. Well, it's not as good as I'd like it to be, but
Nobody's perfect, right?
Well, wait a minute. I've never made a mistake. What's your problem?
I just learned from you, so
Well, you just said that I made a mistake. That's a mistake on your part.
That's a mistake on my part.
Okay.
Well,
We should end on that.
Yeah,
you
well,
being wrong. Okay.
I'm used to it.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Well, good luck tonight. Appreciate
Okay.
you coming up and talk to us. And
Okay. Well, thanks a lot.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
And keep all the comments that are derogatory about me to a minimum.
Always.
I'll tell Mom.
Oh boy.
Bye.
No, okay. I quit. I'm not doing this job anymore. So we'll catch you up real quick again. And Dragons make their record 5-7 as they beat the Farmington Knights 4-3 here in their first win of the conference. And Toombs, you got any last thoughts or?
Again, it's nice to see these kids, start coming into their own and playing in good ball games. And we've said they've done that from the start of the year, and they have. And now we're playing teams getting into conference play and some teams that have some pretty decent records. And be able to play with them and be in those ball games. That's something that I'm not sure everybody would have thought when you're not really playing any seniors, and that only 2 of your juniors have had much varsity experience prior to this year. I think a lot of people would have let you know that it was going to be a really, really struggling year with good things to happen in the future, and we're seeing good things happen now, so that's exciting.
Yeah, and you can always, think you're going to go up from there, and especially if it's happening sooner than later, then it's definitely a big plus. So do you know if they're going to do the games on Saturday? Are we going to broadcast?
It's funny you bring that up. It was one of the things I was supposed to do today, and as some of you know, those that know what I do, my day got a little bit crazy and did not have the opportunity to talk to anybody. But I will be here. The equipment will be here. I don't want to do it by myself, so if you can make it, or I can contact possibility of Coach Schweiss or Coach Banks or one of those to be here. The plan is that we do have the equipment ready to go if you're willing.
All right. I'm not sure or not. I'm sure I'll let you know. My plan is to be here, but there's a lot going on. There's prom, and Tanya's
I totally
got
understand
Anthony doing that, and I was asked to play in a golf tournament, and so not sure. Don't necessarily have a team, but
and that's one thing we'll discuss.
Yeah,
so.
we'll play it by ear.
So, all right, now Coach McDaniel showed up. I'm going to turn my headset over again, let Coach Coleman have a little interview with head coach Coach McDaniel.
Well, Coach McDaniel, hopefully you're a little nicer than Coach Gibson. He was just up here, and of course he's got to pick on me all the time. I don't know why. I don't ever say anything about his age or is he okay over at first base. But for some reason, he wants to come up here and pick on me. So
before the game, we were talking, and he said whenever he goes out and he talks to people, and they can't believe he's a teacher. Well, I said, when you show up in your Speedo all the time, of course they wouldn't.
Oh man, that is not a picture anybody wants, I think, to see. Well, congrats on the win, a big win, I think, first conference win. Farmington, always, good to beat those guys. And to me, the biggest thing is winning a close game. Even if you come out here, I guess if you beat them bad, it's going to be a great feeling too. But to just come out of a close win, something you haven't done lately, you've got to have a good feeling too.
Right. I think that's the biggest thing right there is that we've had several close baseball games this year, and whether we've been behind and, tried to come back. This was kind of the opposite of that. We were ahead and, the other team's chasing us. So, it was a good feeling. I don't know if you have one of those Fitbits or not, but sit here and wear this thing and, you do it for health reasons to track your steps and your heart rate and everything. And I thought at one point, because it's like, boy, my heart feels like it's about beating out of my chest. But if you talk to me, I seemed cool as a cucumber, but my heart rate, I think, was about 123 at one point,
Have you charted how many steps you take each game to see which one you've done more
I'll
of?
tell you what, they do have something on there now about taking so many steps in each hour, so I need to start doing that.
You go chart it. Hey, you're a baseball guy, stats. Am I moving enough, or am I too nervous or what? You can stat that. So, Let's start a little bit about pitching. I thought White Lamineer did a good job, and especially at times he looked really good. And the way I think he painted, he never really threw it right down the middle unless he really needed to. I thought he did a good job of painting the outside corner. On the negative side, it seemed like he was getting the call, but he was up high quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, with Wyatt too, I mean, his pitches were up, and one thing with your harder throwers, a lot of times your strikeout guys, their pitch counts are going to be a little bit higher than most, and Wyatt doesn't have a ton of innings under his belt this year. And one thing about the pitches that he threw tonight was a lot different than say his first few outings where he was mounting up 70, 80 pitches in only 2 or 3 innings. So the wear and tear on the arm in that compared to throwing 90 to 100 pitches over a stretch of 6 to 7 innings is quite a bit different. And yeah, I mean, I think that he wishes he could have some of those batters back. I mean, he walked probably a couple, 3 more than what he wanted to and what we would have liked. But overall, I mean, I can't be more proud of his performance to go out there and just battle the entire time. They got that hit right there, to go up 2-0. But he comes out the next inning and is probably pumping it harder, and is around the zone even more than what he was the previous part of the game. But I think more than anything too, Wyatt, other than Wyatt having a great game, seeing Jake Brewster, a kid that we didn't know what his future is going to be this year. I mean, after last year, we're really looking forward to, having him probably be our number 1 catcher. He could be our number 1 shortstop and, probably one of our top pitcher and everything. And unfortunately, with the car accident and everything, and he's been rehabbing and stuff. And I think that it's really good for him to be able to get out on the field, and I think it's great for all of our guys to be able to see him out on the field too, and to come into a ball game like that. And even though he gave up a couple of hits, to dig deep and shut him down, that's huge for us, and that's huge for him.
We mentioned that. I mean, not to get rattled when everything kind of, that play that they called Staffen where he came off, you went out and argued. There was a lot going on that. It looked like you were trying a little pickoff play was moving. Henson ran from second base over here because Kemper was charging and the batter faked bunt. And, I mean, there was a lot, and you come out and argue, and that'd be really easy for a pitcher to be, just get caught up in all that chaos. And then he strikes. I think he throws strikes, he gets a pop fly. But, he's able to strike out the last 2 batters. Is he going to be a guy that you think will just stay in relief, kind of a relief guy?
Yeah, I think given the right situation, we really don't want to bat him unless we absolutely have to. Last night against DeSoto, he pitched and came in and gave us 3 quality innings. Unfortunately, the situation we were in, he still had to actually bat, and he went 2 for 2.
I was going to say, you don't want to bat him, but he's the only guy batting 1,000. I mean,
I know.
Stats don't lie, Coach. Come on.
Exactly. And that's one thing we told him out there, too, is like, we don't want you to go 100%. We want you to go up there and try to hit the ball, of course, but we don't want you to injure yourself trying to go 100% and legging out, a close play or a single or a double or something like that. I mean, you're in a position where you're a pitcher, you're going to have a courtesy runner. All you got to do is just try to make contact, move a runner over, something like that. But, we don't want to put him in that situation. We don't have to. And, if the situation is right later in the year to start him a game where we can DH for him or something like that, that's something we'll look into. But right now, he's really kind of solidifying himself in that maybe setup or closing role or relief role there. And, today just kind of helped put the exclamation point on that to give him a boost of confidence, and just us and coaches, that we can put him out on the mound in that situation.
Yeah, your defense was great. You made plays. Your outfield, 1 throwing error, Derek Morgan-Thaler, I don't know if, error, but just sailed it too high. He was trying to throw home. Again, not a big error on the play as far as the batter hitting the ball, but and then I know, just wanting to keep the runners there at first and second, and we threw home instead of third, and that was something that. But other than that, you got guys diving and making plays, and I thought the defense was really good, and I know Coach Gibson mentioned when you walk guys and then you make errors on top of it, you kind of don't have a chance. If you walk some guys but you're making great plays, you can kind of get away with it. So the defense was excellent.
Yeah, we have to be able to do 3 phases of the game, well. And if we're not going to do all 3 of them well, we can't sit there and have 2 of them fail us. You can still get by, maybe with 2 if you're doing them really well. Yeah. But if you have, your pitching is off and your fielding is off, I mean, it doesn't matter how many times you're going to hit that ball or anything. I mean, you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball there, and so it was really nice to see us put it all together today.
Just so you know, you guys made the 3 switches. You kept the 3 same outfielders in, but rotated them in different spots, and we kind of asked Coach Gibson the reasoning behind that, and he said it was Schwint's idea, but he takes all credit for it. Even though you get to make the choice, just so you know, he took all credit for that decision.
Well, I can't imagine he would have done that. It worked out, so he takes that credit. And then if it doesn't work out, you know who's to blame.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So.
But in that situation, we have a newer outfielder, playing varsity level, Camden there, and the other guys have kind of played a little bit more. And, with Wyatt throwing the ball as hard as he does, a lot of those balls are going to go, possibly to the opposite field.
Yep.
And, with that ball.
Early. There was 3 hit to Camden.
With that ball, tailing and everything, thought, in this situation, maybe we want to put some more, maybe stronger outfielders in just position a little bit. But I have to say, Camden did a really nice job over there, too. I think one of them maybe got kind of lost in the sun.
Yeah, misjudged early.
But he still made a couple of really good plays for us out there, too.
Yeah, and Brady, that puts Brady back where he has, plays every day, putting him back in right field. And we just thought it was kind of interesting. Didn't really, we had our ideas, but didn't know what, the thought behind it was. But, again, just wanted to mention that he took credit for it. So, and your batting, wasn't, you talk about 3 phases, so the batting, wasn't great the whole game, but obviously you made the hits when you needed to.
Yeah, at the beginning of the game, we were swinging. We weren't necessarily making the greatest contact or anything. But, I would rather see our guys go up there with an aggressive approach, swinging the bat, than sitting there looking for walks. And I think that was a big difference, this past weekend when we played Dexter and then Park Hills earlier in the week, too. It looked like we were up there just looking for walks rather than looking for hits. And I think, the DeSoto game last night really kind of showed that they were up there looking to hit the ball. And we pounded out 15 hits.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight we continued swinging the bat. It didn't necessarily fall for us right away, but there, that 5th inning, even down 2-0, I think the resiliency of our guys and everything, too, that they don't feel like they're out of it. They continue to swing the bat, and they put some really good, wood on it and everything, and made some great contact, and that was able to, get those runs across.
Yeah, I think you hit the ball hard early. It just was right at guys.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. I do have a question about the bunting, and this more, Camden, I pay attention to you a little bit more. But do you guys have a sign for bunt for a hit and bunt for a sacrifice?
Yes.
Because, it was kind of, we could tell that, the difference, when he just left it out there and bunted it, and he didn't do a good enough job. He bunted it back to the pitcher, and they were able to get Kemper at third. But then you could tell the next time he was flying out of there like he was trying to bunt for a hit.
Right. And that was the thing, is the call on the very first bunt attempt was to actually bunt for a hit.
Oh.
And and after that, the element of surprise is kind of gone at that point. And so, thought, at this particular juncture, we need to, sacrifice and just get that guy over. And, we have a verbal call for that. Actually, it is a verbal call that we have for that. It's a bunt with a verbal call. And, he didn't have it the second time, but maybe he just didn't, he thought it was on and everything. And because I kind of was surprised at the same time, that he was squaring around late. But, still, I think Camden's done a much better job this year than last year of being a better hitter. He's, I think, gotten stronger since last year. He's, putting, a much better swing on the ball and everything. So even with 2 strikes, I think where in the past we might consider, hey, you're going to have to bunt with 2 strikes, that, we can still have confidence in him to swing the bat.
Well, I think it's, once you can really do both, I think it'll make him better because we, with River Dogs, me and Toombs are around it a lot. He might have bunted for hits more than he got hits. So it's just nice to have that option, I guess, if you catch a third baseman being lazy and and maybe you got a slow pitcher can't get off the mound as fast. So it was kind of interesting. We were wondering if there was a different sign, different call, for those things. But
right.
So you got this Saturday. You got a couple probably tough St. Louis teams, Duchesne and
St. Charles Duchesne, and we have the Patriots. And the Patriots are always a very competitive team. Duchesne. I don't know a lot about them. We've only played them, I think, one time. And, we handled them really well last year, but that doesn't from one year to the next. You never know what's going to happen. You see, us having several seniors last year to having really no seniors this year. Even though we have 2 there, but I mean our lineup is comprised mainly of all these younger, inexperienced guys, and I think that's one of the other things too that gets kind of lost in all the mix here too is that the top of our lineup has 3 freshmen. Like the top 5 batters, 3 of the 5 are freshmen, and it doesn't seem like they're phased at all by the pitching or anything like that or what the situation is, and like Brady, for instance. Brady's learned that, they're going to throw that curveball a little bit more. And, he's got to learn to, hit that. But he started making a little bit of adjustment later in the game. And, some of our other guys are starting to come on. Dalton started hitting the ball really well. Drew had an excellent game last night out of DeSoto and hit the crap out of the ball. So, I think we're heading in the right direction. And I think maybe this is the right time of year to be doing that.
Yeah, you got 3 freshmen. And today, you have 2 sophomores. So 5 of the 9 guys were underclassmen. I know Selby is a DH sometimes. He's a sophomore. So, normally at some point, you've had 5 underclassmen.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that I think you're starting to see move past, okay, they are freshmen mentally, and really they've always been hitting and, for the most part and making plays. So, I don't know that, you could tell if you didn't tell anybody if it wasn't on the roster. Staffin's kind of a smaller guy, but I don't know if you could tell that these guys are young, and that's always a good thing. And you've got a lot of freshmen, starting on the JV too, 4 or 5 a night each night is freshmen. So, and hopefully I think you got good juniors that can be leaders. It's one thing to have a bunch of young guys, and if you don't have guys that can lead, it's trouble. But I think you got some good kids as those juniors, and it's all going to gel well when you need it.
Well, and I think too with our juniors, we haven't had that leadership really come out yet, and we've been talking quite a bit about that in practice and before games and certain situations, and just pointing out to them about what is expected in these types of events. And so I think we're slowly starting to see some of these guys become leaders out of that. And I think like I said, a victory like today, they're not down and out. That's 2-0, 5th inning there. Okay, we still have more outs to work with here, guys. So it was really nice seeing. I think. Oh, wow.
Chad Dempsey with a hit there.
Yeah, they bounced off. It was kind of an odd play. But, no, I think that they're starting to develop into some of those leadership roles. Like, for instance, on the field tonight, and I think you alluded to it earlier, with, trying to throw home to try and get that runner, which only would have put them down by 1 run, rather than trying to throw behind that runner and get that guy at third. Yeah. That sort of thing right there is maybe one of those growing pains that these guys are going to have to learn from. That run there doesn't matter, but being able to keep the tying run at third and keeping the go-ahead run at first, rather than allowing him to move up on that overthrow, is what we really need to concentrate on. So I think just like that leadership out in the field and realizing those situations, I think it'll come. And now they said they just have to listen, pay attention, and grow from that.
Well, I think, you definitely have a good coaching staff and good players. So by no doubt, I think that's going to come. And again, congratulations. Moves your record to 5-7 and picks up your first conference win, and hopefully just keep going and keep getting better and move towards that. That district is, district's probably what your focus is going to be on as time goes on.
Right, and hopefully it snowballs in a good way.
Yeah. So, well, again, congratulations, and appreciate you coming up and spending the time with us.
I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. I didn't give you near as hard time as Gibson.
No.
I'm going to take some notes. And
You'll get me next time, I'm sure.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, so that's Coach McDaniel. Appreciate him coming up and talking to us, along with Coach Gibson and, Coach Toombs. Good game.
Right.
Great way to come out and come back in that close win and pick it up and move forward. And so hopefully we can get a couple more on Saturday.
I agree. 2 tough teams, like you said, on Saturday with 2 St. Louis-type schools. But maybe you work and get some victories there and get to 500 by the end of this weekend.
Yeah. So we appreciate everybody watching at home, and hopefully you enjoyed the broadcast. And, again, if you can't make it out Saturday, hopefully – we'll be here, but it should be a nice day. I mean, should definitely be nice enough for everybody to come out and watch.
And I'm just going to real quick. Next week we do have 3 games, but all 3 are away. Oh. We play Monday at Festus, Tuesday at Fredericktown, and Thursday at Potosi. So
got some road games.
Got some road games coming up.
Staying in hotels, Airplane trips? No.
Yeah,
Oh.
I don't think any of those.
Oh, well.
So.
All right. So, again, thank you, and have a good night.
Yep. Thanks, guys.